Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Lisa and today we are going to be doing my July TBR. So this is going to be a bit of a different one. Normally I would do a TBR game and then try to mix in with that any buddy reads I'm doing, read-alongs and things like that. But if you've watched any of my vlogs over the last couple of weeks, well, couple of months really, you'll have seen that in May I had 23 books on my TBR that I read, and this month I had, I think it was like 26 or 27 books on my TBR in the end, with everything that I ended up doing, and then I read 23. Reason being, a lot of this is my own fault. So it was taking part in readathons and not crossing over books and crossing over prompts, not really thinking it through, and then agreeing to do books for arcs and then not paying attention to when they were due, things like that. So it is 100% my fault, and I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy reading 23 books, but it didn't leave much for anything else really that I wanted to do. So as you can probably see by the title and the thumbnail, or even just a thumbnail, there's still quite a few books here, but there is a method to my madness, and I will hopefully explain why as we go along, and it will make a bit more sense. The first book I'm going to be reading this month is Malice by John Gwynne. This is part of the, I don't actually know what the read-along is called. I think it's a Malice, I think it's just called Malice read-along. Is it? No, it's the, what's it called? The Faithful and the Fallen. It's a, yeah. Faithful and the Fallen is a series, and this is book one in that series. And this read-along is going to be run by the Wild Sasha and some of her other bookish friends. I will leave the announcement video for the Malice read-along down below. I say Malice read-along, it's not Malice read-along, but you know what I mean. For this read-along, I will leave the details down below so you can go check out the people that are running this. I wanted to get around to this anyway, and I was debating whether when to pick it up. So this just comes at a perfect time. And July is the last month of the Which Lands Along read-along, so end one read-along, start another. Why not? So that's my first book, and it is a chunky one, but you'll never guess what I've done. I've got the audiobook. It was on offer for like a couple of pounds, so I thought, why not? So that's the first read-along that I'll be going with. The next book is Graceling. This is a bit of a smaller book, and I ordered this book because I wanted to get all the books in hardback, and then I didn't realise this is a cloth bound, and I ordered this in this version before I checked to see if I could get this in hardback. So you know, typical Lisa move. But this read-along is being run by Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction, Leanne from Literary Diversions, and I think Jean is involved as well from Jean's Bookish Thoughts. They have clubbed together, and there's also a girl called Amy from Instagram, I think. She doesn't have a YouTube, but I will leave all the details of this read-along down below as well. And this is a 4-book series, and this is, as far as I know, I don't know much about this. This is an early YA series that follows some girls that have their magic is being able to give graces. This clothbound version doesn't have a synopsis or anything, so I'm picking it up because it's read along, and I wanted to pick up this series anyway, and I want to check out some more early YA, so there's this one. Next up we have one of the 2 buddy reads I am doing this month, and I'm literally just nearly whacked myself in the face with this. Let's not do this. So this is the chonker that is House of Leaves. I'll be reading this with Lindsay Jardine, and I'm not looking forward to reading it in the slightest. I was at the time when I got this, but I think because there is so many mixed reviews about it, I don't know what to think. But it is floppy as hell. So initially what we were going to do is read 100 pages a day of this until we finish it. However, from the reviews I've seen, whether people have liked it or not liked it, they have said it's the kind of book that a lot of people either have to go over the same page a couple of times to try and embed the information. Depending on how you read it, it's got footnotes, you have to flick back and forth between pages. So, and apparently the first 150 or so pages are quite heavily textified. And the text is quite small, so we're going to be reading 50 pages a day of this, and we'll just slowly plug away at it. Maybe later down the book we might pick up the pace because there's less. That's not a good example, but there's less text. You get some pages like this, so we'll see where we go with that. But that's going to be one that I'm chipping away at through the month along with Lindsay, and we're just going to see how it goes. So the next one is another read along, and it's the last in the current read along for Which Lands Along. It's Witch Shadow. It's the 4th book in the series. The series follows it starts off with a truth witch called Sapphi. She has a best friend called Isolde, and in order to make money they do illegal things, and so they cross the wrong people and they get the attention of a blood witch. Sapphi is already in high demand because a truth witch is a great political tool that can be used. So from book 1 this is extremely fast paced, and it does not slow down throughout the whole series. Each book follows a different sort of character as like the main plot throughout the book. So the first book was Sapphi, that was Truth Witch. The next book we followed a character called Merrick, which is Wind Witch. The third book, well the 2.5, was a novella, and that's called Sight Witch, and that was Sight Witch. That follows one of the side characters in the main series called Ryber, and it gives you a bit of background onto her. And then Blood Witch was the last one we just read in June. That follows Edwin, and this one follows Isolde. So I can't really tell you much about Isolde because spoilers, but I'm really looking forward to getting into this book, and I'm absolutely gutted that after reading this we're going to have to wait for the next one. And running theme here, read-alongs and buddy reads. So the next one I'll be reading is Ship of Magic. This is going to be, it's relatively floppy, we'll give it that. This is going to be a buddy read with Michael from The Average Reader. Again, I will link everyone down below who I mentioned. If I can't remember if I mentioned that The Which Lands Along is run by Jade from Jade Reads. This is the second series, the first book in the second series in the Elderling sort of overarching series, and the first series follows a young boy called Fitz, and this follows a whole new set of characters. I've been watching Michael's vlogs of him reading the Farseer trilogy, and he mentioned that he was going to be moving on to this, so I asked if he wanted to buddy read it. He said yes. We start this tomorrow, and we're going to be going about 100 pages a day or the nearest chapter. So I'm going to mark this out tonight and just so this will be about 100 pages a day. And when I'm reading and I'm really into a book, I could smash through 100 pages a day very easily. So although I said my TBR is going to be smaller, because I've got quite a few books on there, you might be wondering why, but that's why. Even if we did 50 pages a day on this, 50 pages a day on House of Leaves, it still leaves me a lot of space for other books. So yeah, although I have picked some chunkers this month because I'm an idiot, but it's still going to be a more low-key month than it was last month. I'm just saying, it's going to be. So the Ship of Magic, I can't wait to get into this. Next up is a book club pick, and this is City of Rust by Gemma Fowler. This is the middle grade monthly pick for this month. I did mention at the beginning that there were some readathons that I wanted to take part in. So one of them obviously is going to be Summerween, which is run by it's hosted by Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte and one of her friends. I'll leave everything linked down below. So I'll be showing you some of the books that I'll be reading for that in a second. But also there's not really, well, Steph said it's not really a readathon, but she has a bingo board and I can't say no to a bingo board. So Steph from Steph Loves has created a bingo board for sci-fi, and one of the prompts is a middle grade sci-fi. So this is just pure coincidence that this is a middle grade sci-fi. So this is going to fit that prompt really well. What I'm also going to be doing is, because it's so low key, it's not really a readathon, I am going to try and fill the bingo board spots where I can. But unlike with whatever thon where I wanted to go hard or go home kind of thing, because this is a low key readathon type job, I'm not going to pressure myself too much to fill all the prompts. I'm just going to tick off what I can as and when, if it so happens to go that way. So this will be one prompt automatically ticked off anyway, so there's that. I've not been telling you about this, but it includes a robotic gecko. How cute is that? And how can you say no to Robo Gecko? You can't. Simple. Next up is no more read-alongs or buddy reads, but this is a book I want to get to this month because it's for a thing, and I'm hoping that I can get through this book. I've heard very mixed reviews about this, and when it comes to people who have flowery writing and absurdism in the books, it really is something that is like an acquired taste. So when I read manga, I don't mind a bit of absurdism and overly fantastical elements and totally having to suspend your disbelief. But when it comes to it in novels, I'm not 100% sure where I stand with that. I'll try and go into this with an open mind, and hopefully all will be well, she says. And then I was sent Hope Nicely's Lessons for Life by the publisher. This is already out. This isn't an ACK, but it's a proof copy that they had left, and they asked me if I wanted to get a copy. And this just seems like such a wholesome slice of life, contemporary, and it'll just be a nice palette cleanser for the masses of fantasy that I seem to be reading at the moment. Yeah, it's always nice to have a fantasy. No, it's not. So it's very nice to have like a contemporary or some graphic novels or some manga to break up all the fantasy that I'm reading. So I've got this. Because I didn't get around to reading them this month, which I really wanted to do, I'm going to try and get around to The Family Tree. This was gifted to me for a book promotion in June by the publishers Avon Publishing, which is an imprint of HarperCollins. So thank you very much for giving me a copy of this, and I am really looking forward to reading it because it's got serial killers, and that sounds really bad that I actually enjoy reading about them, but this is the second book that I want to read that has serial killers in them, and female serial killers. This is a woman that thinks that someone in her family is a serial killer, and then there's a Savage Instinct that I want to read as well, and that's about a woman that is released from an insane asylum and becomes attached to this female serial killer, becomes kind of obsessed. Don't know in what way obsessed, but yeah. So there's 2 serial killer books, which kind of also goes well with the Summerween vibe that we're trying to create in the month of July, because I'm very much like Olivia. If it could be Halloween spooky season all year round, apart from Christmas obviously, then I would have it. I would love it. I would be up for that. So there's a family tree that I'm going to try and read, and also the Patreon book club pick for Gav this month was Camp. I didn't get around to reading it this month, so I'm going to be splitting up my fantasy reads with this as well. So it's very small. It's going to be a quick read because it's contemporary, and it's a middle grade contemporary I think, or young contemporary. Is a young book. So just because Pride Month is over does not mean we have to stop reading queer books, and this is going to be a queer fun contemporary that I can't wait to read. Follow the Boy. I haven't been telling you about any of these books because I'm a shit YouTuber. So this follows 16-year-old Randy Kappelhoff, who loves spending summer at Camp Outland, a camp for queer teens. That's where he meets his best friend, and it takes to a stage in a big musical, and it's where he fell for Hunke Hudson Aronson Lim, who's only into straight acting guys and barely knows Randy. So I think the next year he tries to totally revamp himself and change who he is to fit this guy's type, which obviously you should never do you? Regardless of who you love or who you're attracted to, always do you. Don't ever try and change for other people. So PSA from me. But I want to get around to reading this, and then I'll promise I will at some point slow down, but I don't know when that's going to be. Okay, so for Summerween, what I was going to do is a couple of the books I can incorporate into Summerween. So read a book in the dark. I can read any of these books in the dark. I've picked the Academy Saga because there's Academy Saga and Academy Saga 2, which I was kindly gifted in order to do a book promotion for in July. For the horror, I chose for no other reason other than I went on Kindle Unlimited, typed in horror, and this book came up. It's to do with witches, and it's a horror and Summerween, so you can't really get much more Halloweeny than that. The only thing that would have made this more Halloweeny is if it had Halloween colours on the front cover. So this is Witch by Ian Rob Wright. So I'll be reading this. Horror's not normally my thing, so we'll see how we go with that. Probably won't be reading this one in the dark because I already freak myself out far too much reading psychological thrillers and horrors without having to read them in the dark and making more creepy vibes for myself. I live by myself. Vivid imagination. I don't need any more of this. So the next one we have was Read a Paranormal book, and this has been on my Kindle forever. It's a book by Shannon Meyer and it's called Midlife Bounty Hunter. So there's a couple of paranormals books that I could have chosen for this. One was Wolf Reject, I think the other one was. Yeah, so I could have picked any of those 2 books as my paranormal, but this has been on my Kindle for a lifetime, it feels like. So this is the perfect time to get around to reading it. It also has, as you can see, orange and black on the cover, so I'm probably going to be using that for my orange and black cover. And then also the final thing to do is bake or make a spooky drink. So I'm going to be baking some spooky coloured buttercream muffins. So I'm going to be colouring the buttercream orange, and I don't know where I'm going to find some spooky things to put on top at this time of year, but there's a little fly flying around and it's doing my nutting. Yeah, so if I can't get anything spooky to put on top, I will just colour the buttercream orange, because you know, you think of Halloween, you think of orange and black and green. So I've got some green and orange. Couldn't get black food colouring, so I can make some fun buttercream. So yeah, they are the books that I want to read this month. About 13 books. I don't know how many I've got. I've got less than 15. Which is an improvement on last month. It is an improvement. However, I'm not going to hold myself to all of these. Obviously the ones that I'm doing for read-alongs and buddy reads, I do want to stick to, but the extra ones that I wanted to get around to, not necessarily something that I have to do. The Night Circus I am reading for a thing as well, but that thing can wait. There's no time constraints on that thing, so that can wait. So if I do find different sci-fi that I want to read for It's Sci-Fi July and mix some of that in instead, then I am going to be doing that. I'll do that instead. I'll just see how I feel. Is Becky Chambers sci-fi? Got a Becky Chambers book, but it is like the 4th in series, but we'll see. Anyway, that's me done. This was supposed to be a short video. It's turned out to be a longer video than I expected it to be, so there's that. And yes, I will see you all in my next video. Wish me luck. I will be updating you on my progress in my vlogs, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.